All right, now that we have set up the Unity project and made our first mod, which was this bouncy ball, let's dive into hand snap zones. And to see how hand snap zones work, let's create something that actually needs a hand snap zone. So I rename the ball folder to hammer and I go into the prefab right here. Then I'm going to spawn a cube into this main object, scale it down and scale it up on the z-axis. So we end up with something like this hammer right here. Just like that. All right. Then I'm going into shared assets, materials, and I'm going to apply the black material to this hammer. And now to add a hand snap zone, all we have to do is to go into prefabs of the Project ThirdEye SDK folder and drag in a snap zones thing. And this snap zone basically has only two transforms to it. And both of these transforms have the U-hand snap zone component. Left hand has hand side left hand and the right hand obviously right hand. So basically we have two snap zones and both of them have a trigger. And you can only see this if you activate the gizmos. Here you can see we have the magnet, that's the snap zone, and we have the sphere around it, or you could also enable the mesh renderer here. Then you can see the visual of it. And this is basically just a sphere collider with is trigger enabled, so it doesn't have collision, it only detects the interactor. Okay, so we have basically just two transforms with a trigger that is going to be triggered, and then it snaps into that transform. And now I'm going to completely reset the left hand from its position and rotation. Make sure that you are in local. It's right here. You have global and local. Make sure you are in local. So you can actually see, now I'm going to disable gizmos, so we can see this a little bit better. And now you can see we have this blue axis is the forward axis, red axis is the right axis, and so on. And now you have to imagine that your left hand controller basically just points forward and up in this orientation. So if we would want to hold this in a meaningful way, we would have to do something like this, rotate it by 90 degrees. So our hand is pointing down, and then drag it outward just a little bit. Maybe a little bit more up. Something like this should work. And now I'm going to do the same thing to the right hand. I'm basically just going to copy the transform values or component and paste it into the right hand. Except that I'm going to invert the position X. Right now it's minus 0.0818 and now it's plus the same value. So we basically have this symmetrized. Yeah, so that's it basically. We have two hand snap zones. Then now let's save this and simply build this mod. So I need to reset the folder because I renamed it to hammer. And now I click build. Yes, it's saved already. I click build and then I'm going to change the view so you can see what I'm seeing on the screen. And let's spawn it in by going into buildings, saved items, mods. Oh, it's still called bouncy ball, not correct. And now you can see we have a hand snap zone. So whenever the trigger is triggered, so it should be a little bit more forward and maybe pointed a little bit more into this direction. But it kind of works. And also something that is notable is if I now force grab this object, it automatically snaps to this hand snap zone. But something that is a little bit off is the way you can grab it with both hands. Sometimes that is not something you want because it looks a little bit wonky. So in this case, we also have the fingers overlapping, which is a bit weird. And especially for guns, you don't want the primary hand zone to be used. And to fix that, you can simply add one script All right, to make sure that only one hand snap zone is taken at a time, we just have to add the multi-hand snap zone. This component basically checks if one of them is taken and then disables the other one. In order for it to work properly, we also need to set this to true, only use snap zones. That's something you would want to do on guns because you have very determined snap zones and you don't want to have the hand grabbing everywhere. You just want to have them grab in this particular region. Okay, once we have that, we're going to save this and going to build mod, switch one more time to the game view, spawn in this mod right here, bouncy hammer, there it is, and here we have the hammer, and as you can see I can only grab it with one hand at that particular hand snap zone, and that's exactly what you want with a gun, for example. And that's it on how to use the hand snap zones, and now follow the development of Project ThirdEye.